here with Tina,
Oh, hi.
who does lifestyle therapy for us, our food guru. Dr. Stacey is going to join us, and we'll be presenting to you something that we've never done before, and that is kitchen essentials. We should be having a lot of fun with this. I've been looking forward to doing this. I'm obviously a guy. I hope it's obvious. And I think that might make an interesting counterbalance the way guys operate in the kitchen versus gals, right? It's always kind of a joke in a marriage, and so you're going to be hearing both sides today. You're going to hear a lot of just what are our favorites, and everybody has different favorites because everyone has unique position in life. Some of us have kids, some of us are more elderly, some of us are very young, some of us have to really prepare foods for work, and some of us has time, some of us have no time. So everybody's so unique. So what I want you to do is not come to the seminar thinking I have to apply all these things to what I do. No, you pick out the things that sound like, hey, that's really going to work for me. Yeah, so it's going to be a mishmash of things. Yeah, that should be fun. And I'd like to start with going into the why we're doing this. And this is obviously a critical component. And one of them is this. I was thinking about that just a few minutes ago. And one of the ways I got through college is I worked on a lot of engines. I was known as the motorcycle guru, and anyone that needed more performance out of their engines, that's what I would do. And to this day, I like to tinker with these things. And I'm happy I've done these things because it gives you a more practical mind. But the number one cause of an engine not starting, at least in the motorcycle group, when they would bring them in, was basically just fouled up gas, which had fouled up the carburetors, fouled up the spark plug, and it was always a very simple operation. Take the spark plug out, put in a new one, change the gas, run it through, bang, it starts. And so you went from a no-running motorcycle to maybe a sputtering motorcycle to a very clean-running motorcycle. Shouldn't we be doing the same thing for us? Why would we put junk in our gas tank and make our own engine sputter? Why would we want to do that? Go into an inflamed state, make the brain unhappy, go to a state of non-motivation, depression even, ADD-like symptoms, gain weight, lose energy, not sleep well at night, heighten the risk of autoimmune diseases, specific cancers, make your bad genes talk and the good genes shut up. Why would we want to do that to ourselves? So we're preaching good nutrition, and everybody knows in their heart they need to do that, but then comes the application. And the application is where a lot of stumbling occurs. And so we're going to try to find a few ways to make it a little easier. And Tina certainly sits down with our patients in lifestyle therapy and then makes it more comfortable for them for person to person because everyone has unique needs, obviously. But some of the basics stay the same, right? And therefore we're going to present those, and I think you'll like it. Another tiny little example was in today's USA Today. I noticed a little column on the bottom that in Pediatrics magazine, it's a medical research magazine, they just published research that shows that babies that got fed solids at age 4 months or less are 6 times as likely to become obese by age 8. That is huge. That is absolutely huge. Look at how food changes us. It changes our very being from beginning on up. So this stuff is really important. Let's learn how to put the high octane fuel in and make our engines become race engines, and we'll have fun with it. So Tina takes it away from here.
Just for a little bit. Am I on? Yes? Okay. It's surreal for me to have Doc describe me as the food guru. I just want to tell you, I was feeling really confident until he said that. And I just sort of went, okay, shake that off. But many of you know my story. 4.5 years ago, I came here as a patient after I'd been diagnosed with MS. I was the drive-through queen And so when I melted down in Dr. Stacey's office, and I'm sure she can attest that I'm not exaggerating, these sorts of changes and the stuff that they recommend in the treatment rooms and the stuff that I recommend, I have such a holy awe of the fact that I'm able to pull this off. And so the fact that I can makes me believe very strongly that the rest of you can as well. And many of you already are, I know that. Some of you are here because you love someone and want them to be healthy. And I think what we're trying to get across tonight is, hopefully this is very obvious, that we want you to know this is personalized. You know, I'm going to share a couple of my favorite tips and tricks, and then Dr. Stacey, and then Doc. It's all stuff that we've come to feel comfortable with, the things that we need to have in our kitchen, but that came over a period of years for all of us. So one little thing at a time is kind of the idea here. And hopefully I'll be able to, and we'll all have some tips on how to make it more accessible. Yeah, that's the word. So Doc forgot to talk about what we had for dinner, so I'll do it. You want me to do that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, when the crock pot's on all day. Some of us in the office are vegetarians, some of us are gluten-free, some of us are dairy-free, and Mrs. Denboer is fantastic at finding dinner each month that suits everyone. So she did taco soup tonight, and it's really just a fantastic, simple recipe that's just a basic soup starter, you know, which is basically sauteing onions, maybe a little garlic, some salt, throwing in some vegetable broth, and then putting in your main players. So what's your protein, what's your vegetable, and that kind of thing. Soup is really simple. You can do this with just about anything. And so it's got kind of a Tex-Mex kind of flavor. I was thinking we'd put the recipes up on Facebook. So this is what we had for dinner. And then dessert, raspberry streusel coffee cake, which is a very special treat. And we'll put that recipe up as well. Kind of on the sweet side, so I would definitely say it's not for every day, but we don't do seminars every day, do we? And how many of you have had frustrations finding us on Facebook? We hear that complaint a lot. I just want to make sure when you're looking for DBC on Facebook, make sure it's in caps. Capital letters, DBC, you'll find it, no problem. And you don't have to be on Facebook to see our Facebook page. You don't have to. Nope, you can just Google for DBC Facebook and you'll find it. And we do put a lot of recipes and articles and things up there too, so it is a good place to go. And yet this morning we just posted our handout on gluten-free for friends and family, like how to share that information with friends and family, people who love you and are trying to feed you maybe, and not getting everything quite right. So it's simple. It's hopefully helpful for friends and family. So, all right. So many of you that have come to my cooking classes, you know a lot of my favorite things, but I just wanted to share this with everybody. I have a very tiny house and a very tiny kitchen, so I don't have a lot of the plug-in gadgets, not a lot of counter space. So I tend to do things a little more old-fashioned, a little bit extra hard work, but the immersion blender, this is my #1. Do I have a pointer? There's a pointer? Who's talking to me? Ooh, look. Okay. I'm excited by gadgets. Okay. So this is called a blender wand, a hand blender, or an immersion blender. It's kind of the same idea as when you go get smoothies. They're putting the blender into the smoothie. This thing, I cannot tell you how handy it is. It kind of takes your regular cooking up a notch when you're trying to make sauces and dressings. You can do those wonderful creamy olive oil dressings that seem like a fancy vinaigrette. This is it's fantastic. I use it for smoothies, green smoothies, all kinds of things. I would definitely say that this is a must-have. A friend of mine told me that when I started trying to have a healthy kitchen. $30, best investment I've ever made. One good knife, must have it. And the reason I picked this chef's knife, the rocking blade, really helps you chop faster. So for those of you that are trying to learn how to chop vegetables in a way that makes you feel like you're not spending all day chopping vegetables, if you have internet access, go online and Google for how to chop an onion, how to chop whatever, or come to my cooking class because we do that a lot too. But it's amazing. They'll have little 30-second videos. You can learn how to do anything like the chefs do it, and you save so much time. So just a little note there. The garlic press. This is something where I really thought that fresh garlic was just for snooty people. And maybe I've become snooty, I don't know, but you guys would tell me, right? But the garlic press, it makes such a difference in your cooking between the jarred minced garlic and then the fresh garlic. Now I know why they were garlic snobs before, because it really is so good. And when you have this little thingy that cleans that, it is so much faster. I'll just use fresh garlic all the time, almost all the time. I still have a jar in the fridge just in case. And then I'm a really big fan of Asian cooking. I think when you're trying to step away from the standard American diet and you're using a lot of fresh lime juice and lemon juice in your cooking, you're much more likely to use the fresh stuff if you have one of these handy guys. Makes really quick work of it. And my husband's now obsessed with homemade limeade. So he just slices up a lime, squeezes it into an old peanut butter jar, pours ice water on top, a little bit of agave nectar. That is a really nice treat. Very refreshing. So any questions on that? What is it? It's the handy dandy juicer. I don't know what it's called.
A lemon press.
A lemon press? Thank you. I told you guys the guru thing was overselling. A citrus presser? Okay.
It's a must-have.
I know I got it at Meijer for $7. So now I'm not going into pans and all that kind of thing. I mean, I do have a couple essential pans, but they're going to cover that in more detail. This is, if you have the tiny kitchen, what are the most important things? And then I do make room for the food processor. I don't use it every day, but boy, when I've got a big job and when I'm trying to prep my vegetables over the weekend for the rest of the week, and you want to have your mushrooms sliced and all these kinds of things diced and chopped and everything, it is super handy. And also if you have a big job, like I make falafel and fattoush. Fattoush is this wonderful chopped salad that has a real Mediterranean flair. It calls for a ton of vegetables, and it would take 3 hours to make it, which might be fine if that's what you want to do. I often don't, and being able to pulse it and do all the slicing and things in the food processor is good. But I did want to bring up the two different blades. A lot of people will ask about the slicing or the shredding blade as opposed to the pulser. And just make sure when you're getting a food processor that you have both of those, because they're really handy and you'll want to learn how to use both of those. And any owner's manual should have that. And now, some of my favorite spices, it was really hard to pick for, but the pinwheel did not accommodate more than that. So I have so many favorites that it's just impossible. One of the things about spices, you can have a very tiny grocery budget and have excellent gourmet food if you know a little bit about spices. And the best way to know is to try. And Harvest Health has little spice bags for 99 cents or $1.29. It's a great way to try spices without the $7 jar commitment. So, and we get a lot of our spices in bulk at Asian food stores and all that kind of thing, like the Spice of India on 28th Street. Have any of you guys been there? What a treat. It's nice there, isn't it? And they just got new digs, so they've got plenty of room. So some of my favorites, the things that we run out of the most, I would say, in our house: coriander, chili powder, cumin seed, and then there's also ground cumin and garam masala, because we love to cook Indian food. So those are some of our favorites. And I guess I would say, some people ask, well, what spices should I buy to get started in the kitchen? And I guess I feel like I do it the opposite way. I find a recipe that sounds good to me, and then I'll get the spices for that. And that way then I'll know if I like that kind, and then I'll kind of branch out and look for recipes that are kind of in that vein. But again, starting with the little baggies, and so that you don't feel like you've just invested something and then you realize that you didn't like that spice at all. You know, some people hate garam masala when they first get started, and it takes some time to get used to it. But so yeah, that's a little bit about my kitchen. Wonderful. Woohoo! Dr. Stacey's turn.
I started with, we all have a little different style of, obviously, lifestyles for all three of us, and that's why we kind of picked the three of us to gel together this evening. Even though I'm in the office 3 days a week, my other 2 days of the week I'm on the road almost 8 hours a day working on horses, so it requires me to plan ahead sometimes, and sometimes I fail at that miserably. So then you have to find places that you can afford to eat at and that are good. Tina, I know her and Shane like to cook together. Doc, Leona, and him like to cook together on the weekends, and I know Leona does a lot of the cooking around, especially for us so wonderfully this evening, for dinners. So I picked out what I use. I would say all of my spices here are almost every day something in my dinner. Marie Catrice has a wonderful seasoning salt. I don't know if anybody's ever tried this. It has salt and pepper, natural flavors, and then she kind of puts like a seasoning salt, other things in there. She's kind of vague on everything that's in there. Really good idea, because obviously you're going to want to try to mimic. It does have some spicy flavor to it. That's the one thing I will say. The more you use this, the more spice and knock out your senses this is going to have. Her seasoned potatoes, this is what she uses on it. Wonderful. I pretty much put it in everything from eggs all the way up to sauteed vegetables. I absolutely love it. We use a ton of basil, oregano, lemon, garlic, and pepper and everything. I think my favorite is I will always do Brussels sprouts. This is my time of year for Brussels sprouts and kale. And there's always lemon, pepper, and garlic on top of those. One of my favorite things to do. Oregano and basil I have fresh that I got from the garden that we dried this year. So pretty much everything I cook as well, I throw basil and oregano in just because I can. And it's great. So really my flavors are more tailored to obviously my taste. I do like the cumin and the coriander, but I don't do as much of the hummus making myself right now in the summer. I tend to do more of that, so I will use those spices, but I picked what I use currently. My essentials in the kitchen, very similar knife, same as Tina's. I absolutely love that knife, but I cannot live without the wok. I have a Le Creuset wok. Oh, I don't know what I would do without this wok. I think I do every vegetable in this wok that I possibly can. Crock pots are huge meals for me. I tend to make a lot and freeze a lot. Because of my Tuesdays and Thursdays being on the road, the last thing I want to do is come home and try to cook. So pull it out of the freezer, throw it on the stove. I've got a nice soup. So typically I crock pot my taco soup that we made this evening, or I make egg drop soup. I love to just play with things, so I'm kind of the one that pulls things out of the fridge, throws it together in hopes that it turns out great. If not, I'm going to eat it anyway. You're stuck. So, and I'm also, I'll talk a little bit about pans this evening, because pans are really an essential thing that you should have in your home, and you should have 4 or 5 great pans. The pan sets that they sell, really, there's a lot of those pans that are unnecessary. You don't always use them. I would say I was antiquing one day, and I found a set of 3 Cracker Barrel cast iron pans. 35 bucks. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best. Because I was at World Market the day before, and I had picked up a big cast iron pan, $35. I was like, oh, I got 3 for the price of 1. So, of course, returned the World Market pan, kept the crock pot pans. So my cast iron seasoning pans, these, a lot of people mistake for what cast iron is. It's one of the healthiest pans that you can use. They are naturally nonstick if seasoned properly. Nice thing about these, you can use any style of utensil on them, whereas your nonstick pans, you can't. Really, it's metal, or what they recommend is silicone, and I definitely don't recommend silicone for that, and we'll discuss that in just a few minutes. But I would say every night, like Super Bowl night, I made scallops and Brussels sprouts and sauteed mushrooms, and it was all done in our cast iron pan. So I have 3 different ones. Use them. I make omelets in my small cast iron pans on the Saturdays and Sundays. Love them. Learned how to season them correctly, and if they're seasoned well, they are truly nonstick, and they last forever. So even if you get a rusty, crusty pan, I do have a website right here on how to season it. We will also put this up on Facebook. So wonderful thing about this, to clean your cast iron pan, salt and a little washcloth will take all the food out of the pan if you really want to clean it. A little bit of water. No dish soap should ever touch this pan. If you do, you need to reseason. Takes all of the oil out of it. So what happens here, when you're seasoning a pan, what you want to do is, and honestly, if a cast iron comes pre-seasoned, you should really scrub that seasoning off, because it's kind of a waxy, oily coat. It's not really healthy for you. So you should scrub it off and reseason the way that they recommend on what'scookingAmerica.net. So you go through and you coat the pan lightly, very lightly, with a oil that is solid at room temperature. I use coconut oil. These guys can recommend Crisco or lard, but they also say coconut oil works wonderfully. When I first seasoned my first pan, I used olive oil. Not a good plan. Didn't go well. I have shiny spots, and it was not nonstick. Realize that. So lightly coat it, wipe it off with a cloth towel, flip it in your oven upside down with aluminum foil underneath, cook at 500 degrees for 30 minutes. It does not smoke this way. Everybody has told me, oh, it smokes so badly when you season your pan. You're not seasoning it correctly. So, and if you have the crusty pan, you can put the pan in the oven on the self-clean mode for 1 cycle, and then when it comes out, scrub it with salt and a steel wool brush, and you can take the crusties off, and then you can season it. Works wonderfully. But they recommend that you season this way 3 to 4 times before use. So when it's done, after 30 minutes, you let it cool off naturally in the oven, and then season again. Lightly coat, throw upside down, season it. If you are to get this pan wet, say you want to rinse the food out that's in there, put it in the oven, 400 for 10 minutes, let it dry, and you're all set again. Put it upside down. Best to store them upside down so then the oil doesn't sit in the pores, especially if it's anything that shouldn't be in there. I fell in love with man pans. I found, I was doing quite a bit of research on nonstick pans because I know a good omelet pan is hard to find. I love to play the pretend chef at home, and I flip my omelet and see if I can catch it in the pan, not break the yolk. 9 times out of 10 I break the yolk, but hey, that 1% or that 10% is great. I feel awesome. But man pans, these are wonderful. These were introduced, they're from Pennsylvania, so it's a made in the USA pan. Only pan that I found made in the USA. That's nonstick and healthy. From a gentleman who is a techie geek and a food geek all at the same time is what he calls himself. These pans are wonderful because they have a sapphire granite coating, lifetime warranty on them. If for some reason they lose their nonstick qualities, you can send them back for 13 bucks, they recoat. Wonderful. He has videos on there how he can rub a quarter on that and not even break through the surface. The quarter actually rubs off. Put a little salt on it, rub the salt over it, and the scratches are all gone. So wonderful, wonderful. The reason why I love these pans more than anything else, one, the metal quality on them, it's more of a cast iron style base, but it does have some aluminum in it for the heat quality to it. But you can use metal utensils on this one. And when you're looking at utensils for health-wise, metal or bamboo, I would say are probably my favorite choices. I think I have one like rubber style silicone spatula at the house, similar to Doc. Use it mainly to get things out of, cold things out of a pan so that they're not sticking to the edges. But I never heat with them. I either use wood or metal. And that's the nice thing about the man pans, you can use metal with these. The green pan, which I know Doc and Leona have fallen in love with, this one for more of their omelet pan. These are produced in Europe, and it's more of it is a nonstick coating. It's a thermomalol coating, so it's a trademarked coating, but has been proven, man pans have been proven up to 700 degrees, 500?
550.
550. To heat up without having any problems with defects in the pan. You can heat these up to 550. Both of these are oven safe, so that's huge when you're looking at pans. Plastic handles, not oven safe. You really need things that can do double duty. I have a small kitchen as well, like Tina, so I don't want a ton of pans that I don't use either. I'm a huge simplification nerd. So anything that I can cut down in my house, the better it is for me. These are wonderful though because I know you can use wood on these. Most of the websites that you look at, they will recommend silicone. Downside of silicone, testing wise on silicone, there's only been one out of all the products. There was a study done in Japan about, they did 208 different silicone products and only one passed without putting any phthalates or PTFEs into the foods, which is similar to bisphenol A or things that can cause hormonally related cancers. Only one passed without putting anything into the food, and that was the silicone baby nipple. So I'm pretty sure not a lot of people have that around to cook with, so not going to work to shove things around in your pan. So really, the nice thing is you can use bamboo or wood on these. I would recommend bamboo over wood, and really more because of the eco footprint that we're looking at. Bamboo, as you know, very quickly grown, sustainable forest product, whereas our wood is not. They are both lovely because if they start to dry out, you coat a little mineral oil, or you can even use your coconut oil or olive oil on them to warm the wood back up. Lasts forever. If you get it, the wood will tend to crack and break off more than bamboo will. So another plus side of bamboo. Pans, another side note that most do not know of. You're not ever supposed to put these in your dishwasher, even though there's a pots and pan cycle. And the reason for that is you can start to break away the coating, even on your stainless steel pans. If you put them in the dishwasher, you'll notice they'll start to look rainbowy. And you're taking off some of the coating of the pan. And what that allows is for that aluminum to leach into your food. Not necessarily what you're looking at. Your all-clad pans, I'll give you a few different things that you'll see when looking at pans. All-clad, what that means is it's made with 3, 5, or 9 different metals. They're looking for heat conductivity. When you're looking at the actual brand, all-clad brand, their non-stick pans came out as one of the worst leachers of the phthalates into the food as it heated up. And that's not even with scratching the surface. That's already with just the non-stick coating that's on them. So downside of a lot of the pans, the Circulon pans, the non-stick also had a lot of leaching, and the Calphalon non-sticks had a lot of leaching. Now, aluminum, the stainless steel pans seem to be, if you're not looking at cast iron and it's something that you just don't want to deal with, the stainless steel seem to have a very, very good track record. Downside is if you drop the pan or dent it, or there's any marring on the inside, then you'll start to leach whatever metals that the pan is made of into the food. So it is important to look at the pans. The nice thing about cast iron is you can reseason it. And the iron from the cast iron is actually very healthy for us. We do need iron in our system. It's not a problem to have some of that leach into the food, whereas the other metals, not really a good plan. Stainless steel is made up of, is it molybdenum that leaches through as well, along with the aluminum, and there was 3 different that leached through, and I'm sorry I'm blanking on the one. Tools that are important. Now, I put down here the silicone because I gave every option that's out there. Metal, I'm in love with all of my metal stuff because I know that I can heat it up. I'm not going to have an issue with it. I hand wash everything. I don't own a dishwasher, so everything gets hand washed in my house. So therefore, I don't have problems with my wood tools drying out. But olive oil coats them nicely. You can use a food grade mineral oil. Works wonderful for them as well, and you can buy those at the different, I looked online and there's a lot of different stores where you can buy the food grade oil to put on these to make them look new again. But the difference between the wood and bamboo we did discuss a little bit. Mostly I do like the bamboo just because I think they hold up longer. My wood seems to dry faster even though I'm a hand washer. It dries very quickly, it tends to chip more, and the last thing I really enjoy is having wood in my food. I'm not a chipmunk and I'm not a woodchuck, so not really my thing. So the silicone, supposedly we're supposed to have the food grade silicone used in all of the silicone utensils. If for some reason you are cooking with a silicone, bend it, twist it. If it turns white, it's a poor put together silicone. Because I know the silicone cupcake pans and all that are big. If you have those, bend them, twist them, most of the time you're going to see a whitish, it turn whitish, and it's not a high quality silicone to be cooking with, so problematic. But potentially if you are looking to try to do as much as you can, cut down on toxins in your house, go to bamboo or the steel. They seem to work the best. Yes?
I wanted a reminder about the polished wood.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, just, the thought of if the wood is going to dry out, maybe I'll go for the polished one. And that's just a little bit of a mistake just because then you have polyethylene or goodness only knows what else when it gets heated into your food. So the bare wood is better.
Good thought. Yes. So that's why it's important. You can use oil on a lot of these. The wood chopping blocks and other things. I know mine dries out, especially more in the winter because my air in the house is dry. I don't have the moisture, the humidifier going as much. So I tend to oil about every 2 weeks, I would say, on my wood cutting board. But it's a great thing to have around. And a note with wood, when you do have a wood cutting board, you're supposed to use one for meats and one for vegetables. You can, in the slices of the wood, catch bacteria if you're not cleaning very well. So just to be safe, know which one is which. And I'm going to turn it over to Doc because he's going to cover a few of his faves as well.
So we're going to convert to real food, and we're going to try to show more and more ways on how to do this. Another plug for real food. I was dealing with a gentleman on Friday, and he was explaining how every time he eats cornflakes, or any breakfast cereal, really, that's in a box, he gains the next day 6 pounds. 6. And we've been working with this, and I've run food sensitivity tests, allergy tests. We've been trying to figure this thing out. And I had him run an experiment with cornflakes. Happened with cornflakes, just plain old cornflakes. We did the food sensitivity test. He's not allergic or sensitive to corn. So then you dig into the process of cornflakes a little bit, and you soon understand what might be happening with this gentleman. Now he's a little more extreme than most of us, but I just want to illustrate this point. I found an interesting study done by U of N. It was a very small pilot study, so small it wasn't even deemed worthy of publishing, but it was published internally. And here it is. They took 18 mice, had control group, mouse food, and water, of course. The other one, just for a joke, got fed the cornflakes box and water. And the third group got fed the cornflakes and water. The ones with mouse food did by far the best. They outlived them, they were happy. Second best group was the one that ate the cardboard box. Outlived the mice that ate the cornflakes 2 to 1. The ones that ate just the cornflakes and water started showing very aberrant behavior, seizures, antisocial behavior, and died after going into a coma very prematurely. On autopsy, it showed that they had signs of hyperlipidemia, atherosclerosis, insulin shock, and damage to the organs. Plain old cornflakes. You look at the ingredients of cornflakes, hey, it's real food. It is not. And this is what processing of food does. Because they take corn from who knows what field with all kinds of pesticides and modification through hybridization and who knows what else. Our corn has gotten really weird. And put in these huge vats where it gets superheated and under intense pressure gets squirted out of these tiny little holes, which then gets dried almost instantly, making the cornflake. This renders the corn almost unrecognizable. You've got rogue proteins in there which are totally foreign to the human body, that are formed by this process. Does it say in the cornflakes box, well, we got cornflakes and rogue proteins? No, it's still corn, but it's been modified. Then on top of that, they spray it with some kind of weird oil so that the milk doesn't make it all soggy too quickly. That oil does not have to be on the label because it's part of the processing. So it's not part of the food that's on there, but oils get sprayed on there. Yeah, and these oils, same thing, superheated so it can dry quickly and it gets soaked in. And when you superheat any food, you're changing its very nature. Yeah. Then on top of that, we put on milk that's been processed by hormone-laden cows who are producing 6 times the normal amount due to all the food that they're getting. The food comes from fields that have been sprayed with pesticides. It gets, they're usually laden with antibiotics. The milk goes into these huge vats, gets separated into the solids, the water, and some milk-like substance, and then reconstituted into low-fat milk, regular, and ultra-pasteurized, and I can just go on and on about this process, but it has rogue proteins in it as well. I sat on an airplane going to one of the symposiums beside a guy who was head of quality control for the American Dairy Association. This was a very interesting conversation I had with him, as you can imagine. And I was complaining to him, whining, how milk was different in Europe versus here, and he explained to me the difference was in the pasteurization, homogenization, and the food that they're getting. But he went on to admit that the protein in the American milk is so hard to digest that is why so many people have trouble with it bowel-wise. It's a foreign protein. I should have gotten that on tape. And I know that to be true because we see a lot of Russian adoptees here, and these kids do very well on their Russian formula. The very same brand formula from the USA when they switch over, with exactly the same ingredients, and I've had it translated, they immediately become colicky, rashes, all kinds of issues. It's the quality of our food supply and our over-processing of it. This is why we have kitchens that we actually want to use. Yeah? That very simple example. It's amazing what processing of food does. Anything in a box, folks, is suspicious. Very suspicious. We want to use real food. And to use real food, you need these tools that the doctors have been describing to us to make it easy. So one of my favorite tools is just a plain old grill. We've got it sitting outside. I use it every day of the year virtually. It lessens the cleanup time. I'll throw anything I can on that thing. Just make sure it stays clean. Make sure you don't char it, because anything that's black is pro-cancerous. That's what we call advanced glycosylation end products, AGE for short, and that is pro-cancerous. You don't want to burn on a grill. You don't want to do that. But you name it, you can throw it on there. You'll notice that the better you get at this, the more you'll just let the food do the talking. You don't have to use recipes. Yeah, we have the occasional recipe, and we use a recipe the first time we do something. Yesterday, the Den Boer family had pad thai. That was a little outside of our comfort zone because we are very adventurous when it comes to foods, there's no question about it, but the Asian stuff is sometimes a little out there for us. Luckily, we have several kids that have traveled over there and have introduced us to these foods. But this was a recipe job, and we took the whole family and put them to work. You chop this, you do that, you do that, you do that. It becomes a social time in the kitchen. Yeah, it's wonderful. And it was healthy, and it turned out great, and now we know how to modify it to do it quickly. From here on out, we will not use a recipe. So a lot of the ingredients can be grilled on a grill, and again, it's a big time saver for cleanup. So use that thing. Cutting board. Do not use a plastic cutting board. I know it's easy because you can pop it in the dishwasher, but use an oak cutting board. Why oak? Oak is hard, yes, that's a good point. Oak disinfects itself very quickly. You can leave it sit with contaminated meat, just brush it off, and studies have shown that in 20 minutes it disinfects itself. This is why we have wooden toys sitting out there. They disinfect themselves. Amerigel, good point. It's one of our most potent antibiotic creams that we use. This is used in hospitals also to fight off gangrene, save limbs from being amputated. Active ingredient, the American oak leaf. So that's what we sell right here in Nature's Remedies. Outperforms Neosporin 5-to-1. Yeah, isn't that cool? Use in nature. So get the oak cutting board. Like Dr. Stacey, we are wok lovers, and throw anything in a wok. It gets used every day. And yes, you can, it's all over the place. And I'm going to reiterate this again. A lot of this equipment can be purchased for very little money. Folks, you don't have to spend a lot of money on a kitchen. I really want to emphasize this. Our first kitchen, out of which came wonderful gourmet meals, was 25 years ago, over 25 years ago. When my wife and I were first married, we had a son. We lived in a studio apartment that seemed no bigger than a shoebox. And the kitchen in the studio apartment had a total of 1 foot of counter space. I'm not kidding you. This was our counter. And beside it was the oven, which was this skinny, with 2 pits. I've never seen one like it ever since. Yeah. And a tiny little sink. And that was it. That was our kitchen. We did not have any cupboards. So I designed a little bookshelf to put all our stuff in and found a restaurant supply house. They're all over here. Right on Division, there's one called Atlas. Restaurant supply house. This is where the restaurant owners go and get their tools. You know how these chef shows have these fantastic looking, expensive looking pans and a fancy knife, and you know the knife is $200 a piece and it's got this special metal and all this. It's really fascinating to look at and to study. I'm a guy, I love looking at this stuff. But when you go to the top high-end restaurants, what do they use? They use the stuff from the restaurant supply stores. Most of your 8-inch chef knives are no more than 10 bucks. It's carbon, hardened steel, white plastic handle made by Dexter. That's what they use. Their paring knife, which is essential for your kitchen, a paring knife, 3 bucks. It's when you're done with it, throw it away, buy another. Yeah? This is where you can buy this kind of stuff. You have to have a whetstone for keeping your knife sharp. This is an essential tool in the Den Boer kitchen. No dull knives. Because you want to be able to slice through everything so quickly. Have you ever tried to cut a tomato with a dull knife? It just is, and it looks like you just squashed a bug when you get done with it. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to go through it, zip, 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 and there's very minimal amount of work. Sharp knives. Yeah? And you don't have to spend a ton of money on them. These supply houses, restaurant supply houses, just Google it. You'll find 4 or 5 of them in Grand Rapids area alone. Yeah? So the reason that these top chefs have such beautiful equipment is the companies give it to them. So they can look important. Yeah? And, but in reality, it's not what you need to do.
Doc?
Yeah.
The Le Creuset, a lot of the Le Creuset items, I know it's more of a high-end product for those that like to cook, but TJ Maxx and Marshalls, usually 50% off for a lot of those, and you can get their stoneware. A lot of times you can get just their cast iron, their enamel cast iron pans, wonderful. Mm-hmm. They're very inexpensive, so
yeah.
Always keep your eye out at places like that.
And that is the high-end item that we have in our kitchen too, the Le Creuset, and because they're gorgeous to look at. No, you don't have to spend that kind of money, but we can serve the food in the pan on the table when we have company. It's got the nice bright color, and it just looks good.
What is it?
It's Le Creuset, C-R-E-U-S-S-E-T. So the spices we keep very simple, extremely simple. Let the food do the talking, folks. You don't have to make all these weird sauces with it and spice it so to the point that it's no longer recognizable. Let the food do the talking. Love to just throw lemon on all kinds of foods. It's just on salad. Have you tried just plain old olive oil, squeeze lemon on it? It tastes absolutely terrific. Get some of that fresh salad going. It works well. Antioxidant, the limonene that's in lemons is very powerful for the digestive system. It makes your bile go. It also is good for detoxification within the liver. Vogel. Dr. Vogel is, I consider my original mentor. Dr. Vogel is a naturopathic doctor. He originated our naturopathy, the whole profession in Europe, organized it, and subsequently went on to produce several herbal lines and medicinal lines. Herbamare is an essential in our house. It's a combination of herbs, sea salts, and other things. There's some for seafood, there's some for vegetables. This is our favorite. It goes on anything and everything. Yeah, not too much, because again, let the food do the talking. Basil, we go through with by the bucket, it seems. Basil seems to work everything. Anytime you chop it, that aroma just erupts. It's very good for kidneys. It's a slight diuretic, flushes out the kidneys. It's great stuff. Okay, your olive oil, you want to do it fresh. You know this local company called Fustini's? Have you ever heard of that? That's where we get our olive oil. It's so fun to go to one of these. There's one in Holland. There's a new one coming here in Grand Rapids. And there's this whole row of taps of different olive oils that you can taste, all aged different, and they all have their own little story. And it's not cheap, but but it's good for on a salad. That's what we do with it. And then we use a big gallon jugs extra virgin olive oil. That is much more inexpensive for everyday cooking needs. So olive oil is essential. Garlic, along with the garlic press that Tina showed, use the fresh stuff. What an amazing difference fresh makes. And this is so good for you. Pepper, don't use pepper that's pre-ground. It oxidizes quickly. It really is amazing what, if you just fresh grind it. So get a little grinder and just grind it over your food. This is easy. Add a little Celtic sea salt and you could look like a pro. Yeah? So gluten-free flour is really, this is amazing. You go to drdenboer.com on resources to get the exact recipe. But combining these flours, you can make virtually anything. That coffee cake that we started with, indistinguishable from regular coffee cake with regular wheat flour. It is absolutely amazing how you can do this. Now remember, this is for luxury items. These are starchy foods. If you have insulin resistance or inflamed, you still have to be careful with these. Yeah? But if you want to make an easy flour, this is it. This all-purpose flour blend, my oldest sister has used for over a decade. She basically takes 6 cups of white rice flour, preferably Bob's Red Mill, and 3 cups of tapioca flour, 1.5 cups of potato starch, a tablespoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of xanthan gum. Preferably all Bob's Red Mill. That's a good quality company because they do a great job with gluten-free. You combine that. We buy this in bulk. We put it in a big bin, and you want to have a special treat, say on Saturday morning, and make waffles. You throw it in, that mix in the waffle maker. You will make waffles that you cannot distinguish. You want to make some bread. Instead of making a whole loaf and trying to make gluten-free flour be bread, throw it in a waffle mix and you can make individual slices. It works. Pancakes, it works. Yes, these are foods you shouldn't be making every day. I really want to emphasize that. But sometimes you want a treat. This is how to do that. I know it's for any baking need, this is the way to go. What's that? Oh yes, the cookbook that this comes from, I think it's in the slide coming up too. Okay. All right. Our schedule at home, we have got this big calendar, is a joke. All these different things, activities, things to do, places to go. What are you going to do with your food? How are you going to do that? Well, one, you could go to one of Tina's cooking classes. Fast food is the next one. Unfortunately, it is full, I believe. There's a waiting list for another class. How to do it quickly. This is a suggestion my wife, as I was discussing this with my wife, said, well, what do we do on a really, really busy week? Well, on a somewhat busy week, which is every week, we try to plan the menu for the whole week. But if it gets really out of control and you are overwhelmed and you just don't see any way out, plan for only 2 or 3 days in advance. That is how to go about it. You hit the grocery store, you hit the farmer's market, which I'll talk about right away, and you make a 2 or 3 day menu plan. Make sure you make extra. And here's another essential tool out of the Den Boer kitchen. We have stacked from big to very tiny on one shelf, so it doesn't take up too much room, glass containers that have a top to it, and that's where all the leftovers go in. So whatever size container it fits in, wham, it goes in there, goes in the fridge, ready to be reheated, so we get double or triple use out of these foods. Yeah, good set of glass containers. If you have a microwave and you use your microwave, only use it to reheat things, and never ever use plastic, ever, in a microwave. It leaches so many bad chemicals into your food. It's not good. Do not use a saran wrap on it to heat because the steam will go up, hit it, and all the BPAs will just dribble into the food, and it's just not good for you. Yeah? This is why the Starbucks coffee mugs are so bad also, those paper ones, because the hot liquid goes into that little shiny covering on the inside and hits the plastic lid, and your coffee or whatever tea or whatever you're drinking is just loaded with these chemicals. All right.
Yeah. Tina had a really, really good insight with one of her lifestyle patients the other day, and I'd like her to really tell that story about
The schedule story. Right?
Oh, schedule story.
Yeah.
Schedule story, yes.
Real quick.
This is
one of my favorite stories from the lifestyle therapy, health coaching things that we've been doing recently. Very healthy patient. She's a spin instructor. Just comes to me for some, kind of taking her game up a notch. And she confessed that planning healthy meals in advance was really just too much. And so I had her email me her work schedule. And by the time she came in, I had a little spreadsheet made up for which days she had time to cook and which days she didn't. And it was really fun because this is a highly intelligent, highly driven, highly successful woman, and she was having a hard time connecting the dots. And so I showed her which days she had time to cook, and these are the days you make dinner for that night, and also you prep a crock pot recipe. And then the next day, you plug in the crock pot and you're ready to go. And it was just really fun to help her connect the dots, and I think she thought I was just a genius. And I said, no, it's just always so much easier to work on someone else's mess than your own. So that's one of the things I really enjoy doing, and I encourage you to, it's really hard to see your own forest. So step outside of it with me, step outside of it with a friend, maybe help each other, cross menu plan or something like that. But it is doable.
yeah.
And there's always the night where you're just gonna have scrambled eggs. That happens too.
So sometimes you go to the farmer's market, pick up something funky from Trillium Farms, and say, oh no, what do we do with this? Yes, we get stuck with that as well. This is the time that we go to the recipes. It's one of the few times, because you've got to start with this. And what we do is we go to Google, just Google the vegetable, or go to allrecipes.com. If you go there, you'll see all kinds of examples, how to use it, what to do with it. Take what looks healthy out of there, go with it. My wife loves using the Taste of Home website. Lots of very good basic recipes there. Just basic stuff that just makes it shine. And an absolutely awesome book for gluten and dairy free is Cooking for Isaiah. Are there others? Oh yeah, and Tina could definitely teach you a bunch of those, but these are just some of the basics that we use. And that's where the flour blend came from. I've seen it in other places as well. Yeah. So one of my favorite activities with food is actually just getting it. Just early Saturday mornings in spring, summer, fall. Just put our heads together. Okay, what's our next week going to look like? What are we going to do? What do we need? And we go our different ways and just do our gathering. Going to the farmer's market is a critical component of wellness for us, or visiting the farm. Anya is here from Trillium Farms. That's usually my first stop. You go to the Fulton Street Market here, and it's sitting right there, gorgeously displayed, all the organic produce that is so lovingly prepared. Go to the farms where you buy from at some point. I want you to know the farmer. I want you to look at what the soil looks like. What are the farming practices? Yeah, for example, if you go to Trillium, you'll see that the soil, it looks like it was from an old lake bed. It's thick, black, rich, lots of loam. Yeah, you want to look for that because those are the nutrients going into those plants that you are about to consume, which are going to start dancing with your genes, expressing positively or negatively. You want all this good stuff just washing over you, expressing good stuff. Yeah, you really do. You don't want crappy carrots that are organic coming from Florida from some sandy soil which got shipped long distances and don't have any nutrients in them. You want to know the source of your food, and therefore getting to know your local farmer, I think, is a very critical component of that. This is very important. And the taste, if you buy a tomato that's just freshly grown, harvested the night before, and you cut it open and smell it, you'll never want to go back. And it is so much fun. And make it a group activity with your husband or wife or kids. Put them all to work. Make them responsible for getting it. Have them start chopping it after you show them how to do it. And just have them part of the planning also. Because if you have kids that are resistant to this, have them help you plan your meal plan. If they are involved with it, they will eat it. That has been a critical component in my household. If it's not, if it's something that I'm forcing on them, yeah, not much fun. So grocery store obviously is more king this time of the year, unfortunately. You do your best. Make sure when you hit the grocery store that you stay mostly to the periphery. The aisles of evil go through the inside. That's where all the boxed, packaged, colorful stuff is. All the stuff that gets lots of attention with the advertisers. Yeah? They advertise that stuff like mad because they have to keep the stuff moving. But you know what? The stuff is addictive. It's chemical laden. It's what gave us the health that we have today. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to stop because I'll go on a rant. But the real food is usually on the periphery of the grocery store. Shop it. Yeah? And if it looks like it comes from Peru or a place like that, don't buy it. Get it at least from the US or somewhere close, because distance is very important. And who knows what kind of laws they have in place for the pesticides, or even if they're enforced or obeyed. Yeah? So I'm almost very suspicious from those places. Not that our own FDA does that great a job, but... So, what we do is we make the grocery list. We get some essentials from the grocery store, from the farm, from the farmer's market. If you belong to the CSA, you might have a pickup sometime during the week, so it doesn't have to be on the weekend, but that's what works for us. Then we throw it all on our kitchen counter, wash what needs to be washed, chop everything up, and put it away, ready to be dumped into the pan whenever we feel like it. It's ready to go. Again, this is a group project. Everyone's involved. Everyone thus has respect for the food, has appreciation for the food. This is an important component of what we do. And when we're in a hurry, like we usually are, we don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about what we're going to eat. We don't have to spend any time prepping it. We can just dump it. And you know how much time it takes to make green beans that way? You steam it, or you throw it in a pan. It's dump, water, boil, done. It tastes wonderful. It's fresh. So that's the way we're going to do it. We're going to address a lot of questions after. So we're going to, for us it works on Saturday, because that's when we have the time. But everyone has their own unique way to do it. So what do you do with all this? One, you make the decision to do it. It starts with that. You just do it. Yeah, some of us have emotional hang-ups with foods. I know that. We have Tina here to help us go through some of those, explore why we do what we do, but we have to stop the self-sabotage and stop putting in this modified garbage fuel into our bodies, making our bodies sputter. We can't do that. If you don't mind me sharing you one other example why we should do what we should do. We had a patient come in about 8 months ago. Severe eye problems, going blind. Dry eye syndrome, to the point he was not able to produce any mucus for his eyes. They were just slits. He could just barely see. Every time he opened his eyes, they would just scratch. And he was in excruciating pain. Severe headaches from this. Had been to Mayo, had been to Cleveland, had been to St. Louis. He'd been all over. He was finally forced to go into a night shift because he couldn't handle any light, could not drive anywhere, basically had no life. Single guy, about 50 years old. So life was getting very difficult for him. Came to me in desperation. And as you well know, I'm not an ophthalmologist, so this put me in a bit of a situation, doesn't it? And here at DBC, it seems like we've gotten to the point where a lot of our new cases, the patient's been there, done that, been to all these specialists, and then they come here, and what's left for us to do is to use food as medicine, because that hasn't been done yet, because doctors just don't do that. And that's exactly what we did here. We put him on a whole food diet, took away all the convenience food that he as a single guy had gotten to, took away some of the inflammatory foods such as gluten and dairy, and just taught him how to totally change around in a very simple way, because that was important for him, to eat differently. Gave him a few nutrients that I knew were good for the eye, just for overall general health. No exotic drugs, just overall It's easy to do things. And then just waited. Given him regular adjustments because that increases circulation to that area, trying to get his nervous system more on track with things. Plus he had a few low back issues, so he benefited from that. And I told him it's going to be a waiting game. This will probably take at least a year. He comes in on Friday, month 8. And I want you to know I was kind of getting a little antsy because he wasn't changing much. But he had lost 40 pounds. His skin had cleared up. He said his energy was way up. He needed to sleep less. There was all these other positive things. So he was really happy about those things. And that was significant. But he comes in, his eyes as wide open as mine. The whites of his eyes as white as mine. It just, like that. I looked at him. Like that. He said, what? I said, your eyes. He says, oh yeah, about 2 weeks ago. They just opened up and I've been fine ever since. And he's very casual about it. I said, I about jumped through the roof. I said, well, that's terrific. He says, yeah, well, you told me it was going to happen. Could you get a little joy out of this? So, but he just had so much faith that it was going to happen. And here it was, and about time it did. But what did we do here? We used food to get him down, his inflammation down in general. Just brought down inflammation using real food. Folks, we have to really get respect for food. It is so critical. Again, boxes equals inflammation. Real food reduces inflammation. And that's how you have to look at it. And that's why what we're doing is so critical and why we want to spend the time on it. And it starts putting it into your house, making sure you do a pantry clean at some point. Yeah, just get rid of the garbage. Just get rid of it because it's just sitting there taking up space and it's a temptation. Fill it with good stuff, some of the stuff that you have here, and watch your health benefit. It can only go up. You cannot hurt yourself. I don't think even the Coca-Cola manufacturer will come up to me and dare stand beside me and tell me his Coca-Cola product will make you healthy. Broccoli will. Coca-Cola will not. Yeah, so let's get with it and let's start doing some of this. So to recap everything that we've talked about, change your food will change you. It will change your genetic expression. Sometime this year we'll do a topic on genetic expression. It is the coolest, hottest topic out there. But it's what can make your looks change, your thoughts change, everything about you change. Genetic expression. So feed it with all these good phytonutrients. Number 2, make lists so that you're organized about it and save the money. Make sure it's all real food, not plants. Food. We're talking food made in plants. I misspoke there. But I want you to eat plants. Does that make sense? So you don't want to eat food that's made in plants. Thank you. Yeah. And use the appropriate tools. Do not use man-made materials such as silicone where you can. We do have that at home, I will tell you, but we do not use it in hot food, and we use it only when the food is cooled off to scrape out remaining stuff out of a pan. Because it's awfully handy. It just conforms to the outside edges of your pan. Use wooden spatulas. Bamboo is preferred. Get some handy tools. Tina mentioned that little mixer. That thing is incredible. We use it every day as well. Food processor. As students, we learned to get by with a mandolin, and to this day use the mandolin as our food processor. I find that myself, I don't like the food processor. So we all have our own likes and dislikes. A mandolin is one of those flat things that you slice across. You make sure you have something to cover if you don't want to slice your hand. But if you get good at it, you can set the knife edge and go, and you can just slice up anything really quick.
Can't make hummus in a mandolin. Though.
What's that?
Can't make hummus in a mandolin.
You cannot make hummus in the mandolin. So the pans, Dr. Stacey reiterated that the Teflon pans are just evil for your health. You do not want to go there, but nonstick is so nice. It takes so much less energy to clean up, especially with eggs and things like that. So some of the best that we have made, that we have found, is Man Pan. And to me that looks like the best one of all, and the green pan, which I can personally attest does work for no stick. And the internet can be so deceiving because you look at the reviews on that. All the reviews on the green pan, they said sticks, it doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. And I thought, I'm just going to try it. So I bought one, and it works incredibly well. So it seems like a lot of internet chatter is driven by the companies themselves. Be careful. So the spices that everyone should have is Celtic sea salt, trocomere. Tina, what were some of yours? Cumin, coriander.
Masala.
Yep.
Those, if you want to get exotic.
Yep. And Dr. Stacey, some of your favorite ones were?
Oregano, basil.
Oregano, basil, all essentials.
Right.
Yep. And of course, pepper, make sure you grind it fresh. Just like sea salt, you can grind fresh or just buy flakes of it. Sea salt is expensive, but you use so little of it that it ends up not being expensive because it's a lot more salt than the fake salt. Or, well, it's not really fake, but kind of fake.
Doc,
Yes.
don't forget the most important thing is attitude.
Attitude, thank you so much. Attitude is the most important thing here. And that's something that, as I was discussing it with Leona, my wife as well, and Dr. Stacey said the same thing. You know, it starts with attitude. You got to decide this is what you want to do. He says, well, what about those Krispy Kreme donuts? I'm going to miss them so much. No, you won't. You will at first, as you're breaking the addiction, because there's ingredients in these foods that literally feed the opiate receptors in your brain. And you will go through withdrawal at first. You will. There's no question about it. And if you have a severe sensitivity, I've seen patients break down with emotions, going through a period of depression, because they are going through an addiction withdrawal. Get through that phase. What was that?
I said, sell it, Doc.
Get through that phase, however you need to get through it. Through family support, through our support, using the resources we have, and making sure you're aware of that. Yeah? And also be aware of your own personal vices, because you know what? We all have our own story, don't we? We have all had this or that or that. We all have a story, and there's reasons for doing what we do. But ultimately, you want to get through it and start feeding your body this stuff, totally transforming your life. Again, you don't want to put diesel fuel in a gasoline car and making your engine sputter. The people that you see walking that are inflamed with autoimmune diseases, that are overweight, that are depressed, they're putting diesel fuel in a gasoline car. And they can totally change their lives around just by feeding it the right fuel. So this is so worth it. And no, it's not a cakewalk at first, but let me tell you, once you are there, after all that hard work, once you are there, maintenance is a lot easier than getting there, because I can go past a Krispy Kreme and think, I'm not even tempted. It's like, why would I want to put that in my body, feel lousy, get sleepy, be inflamed, be sore after my workout because I'm inflamed, not have the energy to play with my kids when I get home, not sleep well, have restless sleep, start snoring, start gaining weight, my cholesterol's going through the roof, and why would I want to die of a heart attack at 40, whatever it is, and have all these things go wrong and be on 6 medications by the time I'm 70 and just not have a life for a Krispy Kreme donut? There's choices that we have. And the choice is stark. I choose real food. Thanks for coming.